Why I'm not worried about U.S. debt, and you shouldn't be either. It's actually interesting. So listen to two podcasts today. One from Eric Weinstein. He's a mathematical genius out of some school. His brother's Brett Weinstein, who is the guy from Evergreen University up in Washington, who is just... the whole thing's crazy. Well, anyway, Eric's podcast is called The Portal. Highly recommend you listen to it. Very interesting to me. I love that podcast. I just found it about 2 weeks ago. He's talking about, like, what if we are living in an age today that has nothing to do with the past, yet we're using the past models to predict the future, even though they have literally nothing to do with each other. I said, man, that is so true. Because I was listening to another podcast by Bob Murphy show where he has the Contra Krugman podcast. Contra Krugman from Paul Krugman in the New York Times. And it just shows you the silliness of Paul Krugman about his, whoever's in office. He loves Obama with deficits. He hates deficits under Bush. Now he's back to liking deficits because he thinks Bernie, he didn't say this, but he thinks Bernie might have a chance to win. The whole thing's just weird. It's like you just can't trust these economists as far as you can kick them because they're letting their political opinions lead what their strategy is. So Krugman's the guy who said in 2016, after Trump won, the markets would never recover. In 2003, he said he's going to a fixed rate mortgage because the deficit spending was going to lead to interest rates going through the roof, and obviously that hasn't happened. Anyway, Paul Krugman's still in it. But I thought the thing that Murphy was talking about, and Bob Murphy is an Austrian economist with the Mises Institute. I'm not sure where he teaches. Maybe down at Auburn, I think. I'm not even sure. But I don't. Anyway. But Krugman had said something that's pretty interesting. He said our payment on our interest relative to GDP is way down here. Historically, it's been way up here. And he says, look, if you look at our debt payment, all right, that's to service our debt relative to GDP is significantly lower than it was under Reagan. I thought that was interesting. Because now Bob Murphy's saying, yeah, but because apparently 2003 is the whole thing was, he's just changing his tune, which is scary because I'm saying, how many people listen to this guy, Krugman? Because there's all kinds of other things he said why that wasn't the case before, but it was the case before. And the thing's just, he's just like one of those guys going like this. Well, okay, that's my decision. Anyway, Murphy, though, challenges Krugman in that he says, yes, but the reason that is true is because interest rates are low. What if interest rates go up? And that's why I sit here and I say this might be a case where I actually agree with Krugman. What if interest rates go up? Okay, that's a good question. Is there any evidence for that to happen, though? And Bob Murphy and other people say, well, yes, because the extraordinary spending that we do at some point will have to make interest rates go up. They have to. Why? Why do they have to? So I want to show you this chart. This is from Macro. I got Trading Economics. I'm gonna buy this. I love these guys. They got so much flipping stuff in there. I haven't seen pricing, but it's probably worth $500 a year to get it. I want to show you the debt to GDP. This is the U.S. debt to GDP. And this is what Murphy was, and lots of people were talking about. I'm starting here. Who knows? But anyway, at World War II, we were up here, and whatever it was, off the top of my head, I guess I could look at it real quick. GDP to debt. Let's see. Hold on a second. Debt, government trade. It's gonna be. I just don't feel like it. But this is the chart. So basically, the biggest time debt to GDP, and I think it's over 200% here in World War II. Might be more. I don't know. Was in World War II. Here is where we are now. All right. Under Reagan and whatnot, the debt to GDP, or maybe it wasn't just Reagan, maybe it's Carter and whatnot. I can't remember. But is the lowest ever got was about 33%. So that was the amount of debt to GDP, all right? Let me find this. Gross debt, GDP. Hold on a second. I'm going to find this. Debt to GDP. There we go. I'm going to show you exactly. And we'll go to the good old US of A. Government debt. There we go. United States gross federal debt to GDP. And we go to max. And I want to see exactly when that was. It was basically from... Oh, look at that. From Nixon all the way through right about Carter. Isn't that funny? Nixon to Carter is when the lowest it was debt to GDP. Nixon to Carter. So this is Nixon to Carter right here. This right here is at 120%, and we're right at about 104% now. All right. So people say we haven't had this much debt to GDP since World War II. All right. And the irony of it all is this is when we had the lowest debt to GDP under Nixon, and then Carter, and then even the beginning of Reagan. Isn't that interesting? Because this is a horrible year. All right, I thought that was interesting. Debt to GDP. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Japan. All right, so Japan, let's go here, Japan, debt to GDP. All right, and let's take a look at what this looks like. And this is going to be right there, debt to GDP. We'll use a different color, and we're going to show you that their debt to GDP from 1984 on, so basically right here is just going like that, where now it's at 220%, 238%. All right, so that's interesting. All right, so basically the U.S. and Japan are kind of tracking for debt to GDP. Now, the argument that people are saying was when we have that much debt, eventually it's going to lead to higher interest rates. Well, would it? So let's take a look at interest rates, shall we? And we're going to say Japan interest rates. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see something that is interesting. And I've kind of showed you this before, but I want to show it again because I think it's incredibly important to understand. All right, so we see the debt to GDP. So debt to GDP is going up, that's for sure. Now I have another ace in my hole why I'm not worried about that at all, but we'll keep going. Debt to GDP. So if you look at Japan interest rates, they're just basically going like this, and then they're just going like this. And right now it's negative 1%, negative 10 basis points. They have a negative interest rate of 10 basis points in Japan. Crazy. Let's get rid of that debt to GDP, and we'll write interest rates. All right, so now let's look at the U.S. interest rates. All right. U.S. interest rates, and we'll take a gander, shall we? And Japan has been around zero for the last 20 years, by the way. The last 20 years, Japan's been around zero. U.S., United States interest rates. So let's take a look at the U.S. USA, baby! USA in your face! All right, let's see, interest rates. Is that what's the word I'm looking for? Is that nationalistic when I say that? Yeah, I'm okay with that, actually. All right, so the U.S. interest rates have gone like this and steadied down to we're here at the 10-year treasury right now is at 1.8. All right, so you can see a similar scenario. Now, obviously, my graph's a little bit off because I'm just doing it off the top of my head. All right, so now we see a similar scenario. We see debt to GDP for both Japan and America going like this. And the interest rates are going down and staying down. Isn't that ironic? Because remember, they say the amount of debt we have should lead, whew, man, that's getting in my face, to massive increases in interest rates. Yet it's not tracking at all. It's not tracking at all. Isn't that interesting? And now let's take a gander. Remember, because they say high or low interest rates lead to inflation too. So let's see what we got. Lead to inflation. So we're going to go to United States inflation, all right? And this is interesting. United States core inflation rate, and it's the exact same thing as was before. It's basically, 1% in 1970, not 1970s, 1950s or so. It went crazy, so it basically went like this, and it's going down like that. This is 1970s. That's U.S. inflation. All right, so let's take a look at good old Japan, shall we? Japan inflation rate. All right, and Japan inflation rate right here, and we're going to go to max, and almost identical to us is like this, but a little bit more stagnant, and then kind of went down and is down like this. All right, so Japan and U.S. are tracking in terms of inflation, in terms of debt to GDP, and in terms of interest rates. All right, now let's go to unemployment. All right, and this is why I think it's pretty interesting to me. All right, so let's look at unemployment. Now, it's a couple things. We have debt going through the roof, yet it's not breaking the bank in terms of interest rates. It's not breaking the bank in terms of interest rates. Let's take a look at unemployment or inflation either. So let's look at unemployment, shall we? United States unemployment rate. All right. And let's see what this will show us. And we're going to hit max. And This is kind of going, so basically we are at the lowest we've been since 1950. I can't even tell if it's 1945 or 55, but basically it went up during World War II, down, it's kind of going like this, down like this, like this, like that. So we are right here now. That's the U.S. unemployment. Isn't that interesting? So let's go to Japan unemployment. All right. Employment. All right. Oops. Right there. Japan unemployment rate. All right. Let's see what we got. Oops. Let's go to max. All right. Here we go. And they're way down here after the war. Kind of going up a little bit, and now like that. And they're at looks like 2.2% unemployment, and we're at like 3.5. Isn't that interesting? So now, the interesting thing here, the reason why I don't care about the debt so much is because we can service the debt, and guess who owns our bonds? It's us. We own our bonds, all right? There's absolutely no inherent reason the interest rates have to go up, none whatsoever. Well, people won't buy our bonds. Well, people are us. Same with Japan, all right? Japan owns their own bonds. Just people aren't going to buy the bonds. It's almost irrelevant. On top of that, again, going back to the best looking redhead stepchild, by far and away, we're the best looking redhead stepchild. So let's see demographics. Can we do it? I've never done this on trading economics. So United States demographics. I don't think that's going to show up. Yeah, let's see. Nothing. All right, so it's United States babies. Newborns. I'm not sure what we'd do there. Anyway, what we know for a fact, and it's not shown, we know it's going like this, big time. And that's going across all over the world. The whole point about this, we've never been through this, ever. Remember, we're dealing with a track record of 50 years. All right, so the USA, after World War II, were the only game in town. So to say this is the most debt to GDP we've ever had, well, that was we were the only game in town after World War II. Essentially after World War I, we've been the only game in town for the last 100 years. So the whole premise before, lots of kids, lots of new labor, lots of manufacturing, lots of stuff to create that the whole world was buying, lots of lending to do, lots of, but that's not the case anymore. It's just not the case. We were the only game in town. Now we're not the only game in town. In fact, now we're starting to say, look, man, you guys got to support yourself. Why should we have bases in Japan? Why should we have bases in Poland? Forget all that, man. I know Poland's a good ally, but why should we have bases in Germany? Let them manufacture them because defend themselves. Forget all that. What I'm saying is it's a whole new world. And all this stuff based on demographics. You know, I was listening to a podcast today, another one on the Heartland Institute. They had five guys. Not one of them had any children. Not one. That's what's going on. The demographic shift, we've never seen it before. We've never seen it before. The demographic shift has never been like this. So to assume, as economics do, that interest rates must go up, well, you just look at Paul Krugman and say, wait, you said this before, now you're saying that. Paul Samuelson, you said the U.S. was going to lose to USSR literally in 1989 when the USSR just began to collapse. I mean, there's tons of economists who've been wrong. They don't know. They're just like flipping a car and saying, is it going to, or a coin come up heads or tails? We don't know. We don't know. And on top of that, we know for a fact the trend is not in favor of high hyperinflation, unemployment, interest rates. We just don't see it. We know for a fact we own our own debt. Now, can we have to monetize that? Monetize it, you said you're going to print more. Why? Where's the evidence at? Where is the evidence of monetization of debt? The only time hyperinflation happens is when you have socialistic countries. Which is why you had hyperinflation in the 70s, because idiots like freaking Nixon, I don't want to say Jimmy Carter, but Nixon essentially, Lyndon B. Johnson said, we are going to get rid of price and wages. Nixon, there's no other way around that. We are going to mandate price and wage controls. We are all Keynesians now. And that was from 68. So Nixon was literally the reason we had big inflation in the U.S. Obviously we didn't do enough drilling to get our own oil. We didn't have fracking and all that back then. So the OPEC crisis, I get all that. But the inflation happened well before the OPEC thing did. I'm telling you right now. So what happens? Why Zimbabwe? Why Germany? Why Venezuela? Why do these countries have hyperinflation? Because the big hand of government gets involved and starts ramping down and says, we're going to eliminate competition. We're going to put price controls. We're going to eliminate your ability as an entrepreneur to create things. We'll increase competition and raise taxes and whatnot. That's what causes inflation. It's not the monetary policy of we're spending too much. We're giving too much to Social Security. We don't have enough kids, we have too much debt. I don't care any of that. I care more about the politics, which will go to cause that stuff, but it's not just because this is happening with debt to GDP going up. I'm telling you right now. Now let me just show you one other thing here. The thing that gets overlooked on the debt to GDP, I hope that's not a permanent marker. Let me show you the one thing that gets overlooked on the debt to GDP numbers. So remember, the last time we saw the debt to GDP that was low was under Nixon and Carter. Horrible economies back then. High inflation, high unemployment, high taxes. Debt to GDP ratio is low. Wow, that really meant something. But anyway, so here we go. All right, here's the debt to GDP. All right. What is the way to get out of this right here? We're not decreasing spending. The spending is not going down. Under no administration will ever go down. There's no incentive at all for a guy to run for office and say we're going to reduce spending. None whatsoever. Everyone gripes about it. It's not gonna happen, my friends. It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna decrease spending. So you can gripe all day long about it, but it's not going to happen. It's just not. So we know spending is going to continue. What's the way to get this to go back down? All right. Well, it's to increase GDP. It's to increase growth. That's how you get debt to GDP to go down. Because debt to GDP, or we should say debt to GDP, well, debt is going up. All right. Well, GDP, what we need GDP to go up even more. That's how you change this right here. So we should be going for growth policies, not freaking socialist national health services. What's Elizabeth Warren want to do? Putting frackers in jail. That's freaking nuts, dude. Not Elizabeth Warren, Bernie and Biden. We need of this debt to GDP. The reason this is going up because GDP has been lagging while debt's been going up. Let's change the dynamics, and it's happening right now in front of our very eyes. We're not getting rid of debt, but man, if we can get GDP roaring again, like 3%, then like Dick Cheney said, debt is not an issue. Or like Newt Gingrich says, we can grow our way out of the deficit and reduce debt. All right, we'll see you.